Hello and welcome back to the Resilient Voices of Refugees, and I'm so glad that you could join us for another episode where we bring you stories of courage, leadership and hope from refugee youth around the world. And today we are very glad to host a very special guest. His name is Elvis, and he will have time to talk about himself, about his own life. And Elvis has been working with us as a facilitator in one of the refugee camps when we had a workshop there in Rwanda, and he's also an educationist. He's studying somewhere. He's a person who has studied in Kigali and also has been able to study outside Africa, and he will give us the story about that. And he's also a co-founder of an initiative which empowers refugees in education, and he will have time to talk about that in the next few minutes. And of course, I'm very, very excited for you to hear this story, and I cannot wait to see the powerful vision he has for this refugee-led change. So Elvis, welcome to the podcast, and it's such a pleasure to have you join us today.
Thank you very much, Prince, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I could recall when we started, talking about this. It's been way long ago, but I'm happy that we are able to have this chat today. So I'm looking forward to the amazing and insightful conversation that we are going to have together.
Of course, I'm also very excited. It's been a long time before I get to hear from you. And by the way, Elvis is a person I got to know a few years ago from that event that I just told you about that we had in a refugee camp in Rwanda. So he's been a very, very inspirational person. He does very great work, and he's such a very positive friend to have. So Elvis, can you tell us about who you are? When someone has heard about your name, what do they know who you about? What do you do, and what are you currently up to?
Oh yeah, thank you very much. My name is Elvis Uwimana. I'm from Burundi, and I've been living as a refugee in Rwanda for it's going to be 11 years, maybe next year, since 2015, and I'm currently doing a master's degree in Human Rights and Humanitarian Action at Sciences Po in Paris. That's impressive, and something that I truly wanted, to have when I was in my undergrad. And also, I would say the executive director and co-founder for the Right for Refugee, a youth-led, I would say it's a refugee-led organization that is basically working to empower, young people, to equip them with skill set, helping them access education opportunities, leadership development, and making sure that young refugees have the support system they need for them to thrive in their education studies. Because I realize that there are a lot of challenges that students face, especially when they live in conditions like those that are found in the refugee camp. But then how can we be an answer to all that? So yeah, I think I'm for those who know me and who are with me most of the time, they know me as a person who speaks much about education, right?
Yes.
So that's something maybe that I'm known for, and yeah, I'm a very social, very friendly person, and I'm also a Christian.
Of course, I know. I know that you've been a person who has a very, very strong voice. You have that gift of speech, and I can testify that. So Elvis, you didn't tell us where you live in Rwanda. Where do you live in Rwanda? Which refugee camp is that?
I lived in Mahama Refugee Camp, one of the biggest refugee camp currently, hosting more than I think 60,000 refugees from different parts of the world.
Oh, wow.
So Burundians, Congolese, Eritreans, there are South Sudanese. So the camp is now, a diversity of different nationalities. is hosting a diversity of different nationalities. So I think that's where I lived until 2020 when I left, for my undergrad in Kigali, and I was also there this summer. So I enjoyed, my stay and to also be able to reconnect with some of my friends and families, I would say.
Yeah, I got a chance to see your social media posts back in Rwanda. I hope you're having a very safe stay in Paris. You can speak some French.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, that's
I can definitely.
That's interesting. So I read about you and I saw that you have been someone who has been working to educate others in different refugee camps. That's true?
Yes.
Yeah, so I want to ask you a simple question. How did this experience shape your view on education as a passion or maybe hope for the people you are teaching? Not just as a survivor, but as something that gives them hope. How you have to talk about these experiences?
Thank you very much, Prince. This is a very good and critical question. I would say that my passion for education started way long ago, since when I was a kid. Honestly, I wanted to be a teacher, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I always see myself as someone who wants to transfer, the knowledge, who wants to be selfless, right?
Yeah.
And be at that point of making sure that at least whatever I know can be also known by my friends, by my colleagues, I would say my friends.
Mm-hmm.
So it started, yes, when I got to the refugee camp. It was around me 18, so I was in senior 5, right? And I realized that there are some of the subjects that I was good in, right, at, and I said to myself, why can't I really start giving back to my community? Why can't I teach my little, brothers and sisters? Why did I think about that idea? Well, it was because in the refugee camp, honestly, there are a lot of things, right, that can someone be trapped into, right, when they don't have, someone to light up, the way and stay with them, right? So there are a lot of things that can make someone change their views very easily. So I said, since I'm good in history, I'm good in geography, I'm good in economics, I'm good in entrepreneurship. So it's now the right time for me to start teaching others, because the more you teach others, the more you improve, as a person, right? The more you digest the content.
Yes.
Very deeply. So I started that, and I was able to have many of my friends join me, and we started educating students, and I'm happy now that some of the students we assisted are doing, their university studies in Kigali or over the country, in Rwanda. And whenever I meet all these people, they're like, "Oh, my teacher." I'm a very grateful person, actually. When I hear some of those students saying, my teacher," it inspires me so much, and it shows me that I did something very important to them, and that's something that continue to be with me. It's really an experience that I'm very grateful for. And also, education should not be perceived as definitely an opportunity, right? Yeah. Yes, it's an opportunity, but then it can be a pathway, right, to change our lives, right, and have a better future. For me, it always reminds me that we have something that we can share with others, and whatever you are able to share with others, whether in class, whether in public, whether I would say in those small conversations that we have, that's educating people, right? And then we could have more of those, but when we know that we are speaking of something that is tangible, right? That's something that could positively impact the lives of someone. So these early experiences definitely shaped the way I see education today. I came to realize that education is not just a survival, right? It's rather a foundation for resilience. It empowers us, right, and transforms the way we think. But also, it's also something that cannot be taken away from us, right? That belief stayed with me all the way, and I'm continuing to make sure that education is something that is at the center of our life, and I always try my best to inspire other people to be their greatest, versions of themselves.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. So the most important thing actually I've got to learn from your story is that of course, and it is true, the more you teach others, that's the more you will always gain, that's the more you will improve, that's the more you will digest what you're teaching. So it even makes you better. So why don't we teach others? Why don't we share the knowledge that we already have to others? And that's actually something I always do to other people, because I always take myself as a very highly skilled person. So I do not just keep my skill for myself. I just want to let others know this kind of a school, and so maybe they can also find themselves a future. You never know what comes in the future. And of course, education is not just survival. Elvis, I want to know much more about your story. You left Burundi and came to Rwanda about 10 years ago, and you went to African Leadership University, hopefully on a scholarship, on a fully funded scholarship, and then you've been able to transform from African Leadership University to one of the most prestigious countries in the world, in France. Can you tell us about how you were able to, of course, as any other refugee person, how were you able to find these opportunities to join the most prestigious scholarship at African Leadership University? And then, after you've completed your undergraduate degree, you still was able to find the most prestigious scholarship in the most prestigious university in Paris. Can you tell us how was that journey, and how were you able to find these opportunities?
Yeah, thank you. That's a really good question. I would say it all started when I was finishing up my high school, right? And I always wanted to pursue, studies that are progressive, I would say, because even now I'm at that point where I'm not satisfied, with where I am and what I'm doing. So I want to keep moving forward. Yeah. When I was finishing my high school, my purpose was, I was aiming to get AAs, right? In all the subjects, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get A's in all subjects, right? I got some A's and B's, and for me, I was projecting to be admitted at the African Leadership University. Yeah. And when the application was out, I tried my luck. I remember I went to do my application in Kigali, and I didn't have any coin with me, right? I called someone in the evening, and that person, sent me 5,000 Rwandan francs. Yeah. I traveled to Kigali that night, and the morning I sat for the exam, for the admission exam. I did it, and then I went back to the camp. After 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks, I got news that 1 month, I think, where I got news that I was awarded the scholarship. It was early in March 2020 when COVID exactly started, and I was so scared that my scholarship would be terminated, maybe if COVID continues at the rate it was at. But then, fortunately, the school kept us, waiting, and when the COVID was a little bit down, we were able to go to Kigali for the English Immersion program. Yeah. Because to be hard for me, honestly, to start the fully English program with my very basic, I would say, English that I had that time. But and when I got at the African Leadership University, I was surrounded by friends who are from Kenya and Tanzania. And I remember one of my friends who is called Samuel Beat. He told me one day that he wants to help me grow, right? Because I used to go for him as I wanted to know a lot of stuff, because this guy was really a genius, right? And I could tell that I needed to be a friend of this guy. And he told me this time that, Elvis, I see you becoming the greatest person in the future. So you have to stay hungry for knowledge and be open enough to share your story, but also stay resilient, right? And be able to face every single challenge that you might face. So I embraced that mentality. And I started working hard, not because I wanted to have this chance to come to Paris or to France, but my aim was to get a good score, right? Finish my undergrad with a good GPA, right? That will enable me to go for grad school, right? And prior to finishing AU, I enrolled in the Oxford program called Graduate Horizon Program. It's a program dedicated to support students with displacement background, to apply for different universities. I was paired up with a mentor who is studying at Oxford, and he helped me, honestly, assisted me to submit my application to Sciences Po, to Oxford University, and I was able to get it in Sciences Po, but Oxford rejected me, unfortunately. So when I recall about this entire journey, it wasn't an easy one, because I faced a lot of discouragement. Second, this journey sometimes requires you to be alone, right? To face that loneliness, because it's you in the process, nobody else, right? And this stereotype that, refugees cannot, progress, cannot go somewhere, cannot do this and that. And I know that, yes, our refugee passport sometimes exposes us to a lot of challenges, but then I never feel that sense of being blocked, because of the passport that I have. Yes, it's a refugee passport and an electronic document, but then I always feel like I could use it, to move somewhere else, everywhere else. I can and pursue my goals and passion. So I would say it's that hunger for knowledge, but also I used my network, to get all these opportunities that I have today. Because I remember there was this time when I was at campus, and I met one of my greatest friends, who is called Chalin Chikomo. And he told me, Elvis, if I were you, I would sell this story and get far, in life. Then he started telling me how he could, he could phrase, he could, unpack the story to be well understood. I would say the script, he started telling me how the script should be, and I recorded him. When I got home, I put them on my paper, right? All the words that he said. So I added, a few things, then I submitted. So sometimes, the people we live with, if we don't use them, if we don't take this network that we get, as an added value for us to have what we need. And sometimes there are a lot of things that we don't know, but our friends know. So how can we make sure that we reach out to them, politely, and ask for that service, for them to do a favor for you, so that you can have what you want to have. So I feel like it wasn't an easy journey, definitely not an easy one. I was lucky enough to have people who are very supportive to me, and they really assisted me. They take my vulnerability not as a weakness, but rather as a strength for me to go where I wanted to go. Because like every person I met, I shared my story, and these people could tell that I have this passion, and they truly never hide, anything for me. They showed me everything, and they light up a way for me to follow, and I was able to embark on that and make sure that I cherish every single moment that I lived with these people. And I'm happy that I got the chance to go at African Leadership University, because it's a place that has truly changed me and into the person that I am today.
Exactly. You see, for any refugee, maybe any other person trying to get opportunities, they always need someone to help them. It's always difficult to jump into all these this kind of life alone, and you think you will have to do what it takes. Some people do, but I think you always need someone to help you, and that's why initiatives like these are always there to help you people find these opportunities and help you submit those most effective applications, which you've actually been doing for a few years now. And you've told us that you have been able to find someone to help you, and later you said this journey requires you to be alone. What exactly did you mean that this journey requires you to be alone? Does it mean that there's no one willing to help you, or does it mean that you have to be proactively alone working on this? What exactly was that?
What I mean, being alone in this journey, yes, we have the network, right?
Yeah.
And we have people, but people are not there to do things for you.
Exactly.
They are there to guide you. They are there to give you the tools, right? But when it comes when it comes maybe to facing challenges, you are the ones to face them, right? Yeah. Nobody else. But because it's good for someone to teach you how to fish, right?
Yes.
Rather than giving you fishes.
Exactly.
So that's why I'm saying it. This journey is you must own the journey, not people owning it for you.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to mean that.
Yeah, you've actually made me remember some of this quote from someone who worked in a university somewhere, and this university was giving the scholarships, and when the partner approached them to ask them what exactly they are doing with the funding they are giving them to take these students to school, and he said, we give you the net to fish and also train you to fish, so you have the resources and the skill. Now it's up to you to get as many fishes as you can. So this is exactly what you said. The journey you will be in that journey alone, but there will be people to help you with the resources and the knowledge you need to make sure that you succeed in that journey. And that was so impressive. So you are a co-founder of Light for Refugee Initiative, which actually I think works in refugee camps. I don't know the scope of that initiative. But I'm going to ask you, what does that initiative do? Where is it? And what actually inspired you to start this initiative itself? And what is the impact so far?
The initiative is called Right for Refugee. Why did we call it Right for Refugee? We have a slogan that says, lighting path, changing futures, right? We are not there to give people everything, but rather we are writing up the path, right? We are showing them that yes, the journey is there, but then what you need, to embark on this journey is what we are here to do for you.
Yeah.
Right. So, Light for Refugee Initiative is basically the initiative that is dedicated to support, young refugees based in Mahama. We have a very big audience in Mahama, that is in need of education, support, scholarship support, when it comes to applications. We have young people who didn't get good grades, but still need, a chance at life, I would say. So how can we make sure that all these target groups, right, are not left behind, but are rather served fully and equally, right? And Right for Refugees started, and it was actually founded by high school graduates, actually. Some from Cornerstone Leadership Academy, Agahozo, and some other schools in Rwanda. And I joined this a bit this year after them inviting me to join in organizing the boot camp that we had this summer in Mahama Refugee Camp. Maybe I will talk about it later on in this meeting.
Yeah.
So, and it started with the point of wanting to, to inspire, right? To help students grow, right?
Yeah.
The idea behind maybe the creation of Right for Refugee came from a very simple, observation. One, we have many talented and bright students, refugee students, who sometimes can easily give up on their dreams, not because they lack that ability, but because they lack the support, right? They don't have mentorship. Yes, we have different programs, in Mahama and different refugee camps that are serving refugees, but then because of the big audience, I was saying, we needed to come in and bridge the gap. Yes, we are not doing anything different from what others have been doing, but definitely we are owning the journey and make sure that we are providing the quality education support. And that's something that the team is basically making sure that we are putting in place. Because we went from a journey of designing curriculums, to having a website. Today we are now navigating the other good and important phase of having it registered, and we hope to get that soon. So it's that desire, to instill hope, in the hearts of these refugee students. Because when you live in a refugee camp, it's very easy to feel discouraged, right? Because of the circumstances. Honestly saying, I know what it means to be a refugee, especially to be in such condition. I was there this summer. I will tell that if young people are not associated, are not assisted fully, it's very likely that they are going to fail, right?
Yeah.
So, and we started it. We've been able to do a lot of stuff together, assisting some of the students, providing some scholastic materials to high school students. We are now, helping them apply to different universities. The team is in charge of all that and making sure that they have this support. We are advocating for them. We are also making sure that the world can get to hear that we have refugees who want to be their best, at their best. And how do we do it? We need to mobilize support, right? So it's a journey it's a journey that is not easy, I would say, but it's something that is very possible, right? And recently, Right for Refugee is only operating in Mahama, but I want to extend it to Kiziba Refugee Camp, where I know Refugees Makers is operating in, and I'm very happy that it's also an organization that I was able to serve in as a facilitator. So we can collaborate rather than compete, right?
Yeah.
Because we are not here to compete, but we are rather here to collaborate to make sure that we bring that impact, right? That we need to see in those areas. So we now have an English club in Mahama that is preparing, young refugees to get ready for their, transition, into higher education. Why did we think about this? It is because English is a global language, right? And almost all universities that we see around the world use English for to test, the ability, the strength of the students when it comes to interviews. But then our people, I would say those who are from Burundi, because in Burundi we have a French system, right? And even Congo. So our people, their English is still down. But how can we level it up, the extent that they are able to communicate effectively, fluently, but also in the very convincing manner, right? So that's then the community we are creating. We are creating a community of young men and women, that truly understands that the future is there for them, right? And there are a lot of opportunities, but then in order to embrace all these opportunities, we must, make ourselves uncomfortable to grasp, to grasp as many skill sets as we can. We are helping them know how to draft personal essays, digital literacy, and so many other skills, leadership, development. Our students recently served as volunteers during the intercamp competition that took place in Mahama. So that's something. And their service was truly appreciated, by the camp administration. So I could say that there are a lot of things being done under Right for Refugee initiative, but we have a very long way to go. We have many miles to learn, and definitely a marathon, to take ourselves into and make sure that we get to the finish line successfully, but with something that we can be proud of. The impacts that we will have already made. So, yeah, it's that journey, and let me explain why I say we are lighting paths. You see, now we have so many students, especially those in a refugee camp, do not have access to devices, access to the internet. I would say access to the tools that they need for them to do this, all things. And then we said, since the number is already big, how can we make sure that they are served fully and equally? And it's very disappointing to see someone going to a university and he or she didn't do anything about it. I don't know if you hear me clearly on this point.
I get you.
Now we see students, being assisted by others, which is good. But when you get on campus, the person applied for you will not be there. You'll be the one to be in charge of that education, and be challenged by all those assignments you'll be given. So it's good to make yourself uncomfortable before you transition to university.
Exactly.
So we are then making students uncomfortable. We are telling them you need to learn as many skill sets as possible because the world is even evolving, right? Now we see AI emerging, into almost all sectors, everything, right? How can we now make sure that we are advanced, in terms of knowing how to use AI? But then students who are not there cannot be able to get that AI out. But we are giving them skills so that they can own this process. But also we are there to guide them all the way until they get to university. So I would say that Right for Refugees stands for a great mission, and as readers, we are also making ourselves uncomfortable to make sure that the mission doesn't die. And I would say there is no rest in the middle.
Exactly. And I'm very glad that you mentioned that you are extending this initiative to Kiziba Refugee Camp, where we currently work, and we shall be able to open up a collaboration to make sure that we actually give the best we can to these people, and so they can be able to make their breakthroughs in education and in life entirely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the second last question for you. So I see you've been into platforms like the Yali Initiative, the Refugee-led Research Hub, and all that. What are some of the experiences that you were able to do in those initiatives? What exactly did they help you change in your life? And you can actually, I don't know if it was advocacy or what, but what are some of the lessons that you think you learned from those initiatives that can be able to help someone who is watching this or listening to this podcast? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prince. I would reconnect it maybe with some of the last, answers I gave. My journey, was full of, amazing adventures and history. A history to remember. It's something that I'm very grateful for. When I look back, I see Elvis, who has been willing to be, in such platforms. But I was lucky enough maybe to have people who recommended me to apply for them, and it's always good to be courageous enough to apply for them. My first time with Yali was, I think, one of the first programs that gave me the opportunity to fly, for the first time in life.
Yeah,
that's when I tasted what it means to be in a plane. Yes, I was going to Nairobi from Kigali. It's a 1 hour, it's a 1 hour flight.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed, that first that first flight, and I met with 86, young people from across East African region.
Yeah.
And the program was centered around leadership development, growing as in terms of ideas generation, creating something that can be impactful to our communities, but also meeting those young leaders change the way I think. That experience has given me, the leadership tools through their rigorous, I would say, academic curriculum, I would say, because the program was very intensive, to the extent that we used to start early in the morning, 8 a.m. and finish 6 p.m. And from Monday to Friday. So and Sunday and Saturday we were left for maybe us to move around Nairobi and know a few places. But it has also reminded me that the struggles of refugees are part of the broader, broader struggles for development and justice across the continent.
Yeah. Because
you could also hear stories that some that are sad and others that are really kind of similar, even though the contexts are not the same, right? And then we were all fighting for one thing, right? Helping our people live, that dignity, life with dignity, life full of maybe safety, justice, having access to, what we deserve, I would say, because now you see justice is no longer something that is given a place in many communities, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was also able to, I spent a month in Nairobi. I enjoyed my stay and I was able to come back to Kigali. Yeah. Later on, I enrolled into Theirworld, in the project that they had around climate and education, and I was able to be part of that project as the network lead. And I worked with a very good team, from all across the world. I mean, in Brazil, others in UK, and we did some amazing stuff around climate change and early childhood education. And that program took me back to Nairobi this year, I would say in Feb, when I was invited to speak as a panelist, to share my experience as a refugee student.
Yeah.
And how education can be the driving force, to ensure that even young little kids can grow up being aware that climate change exists, and then they can be part of the durable solutions that we are looking for. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from all these programs. I met amazing people who I can learn much from, especially skills. You might meet someone, for instance, myself. I met a lot of people where I feel like, Elvis, did you learn something even, right? And I could leave those spaces with maybe renewed commitment, to learning new stuff and also be able to share my story, right? And when I got the chance to work with, Refugee-led Research Hub as a young researcher. My mentor, my supervisor, Winnie Macau, she's from Kenya. She was kind to me to the extent that she shared with me, resources that could help me grow, in research, teaching me how to do research methodologies, a lot of stuff around, research, and she guided me until I finished my 3 months, that I was supposed to stay in the program. I wrote a paper, which I haven't gotten time to fine tune and probably hand it for people to review it for me so that I can publish it. But yeah, it's something that I'm thinking of maybe now because I have a bit of time to do so. So it reminded me that being a refugee does not mean it's a disqualification, from opportunities, but rather it can be, a pathway for you to get where you want to get. That's one. Second, it has also shown me that refugees must not be participants in the program, but leaders in shaping their own futures. Because if we are fighting to change the continent is not lived by people who are not only refugees. Even refugees are on the continent, right? And if the continent becomes better, refugees will have a better place, to live in. But if the continent becomes worse, that place will also be worse enough for refugees not to live in safety and dignity. So refugees should not be ignored. Rather, they should be offered a place but also a platform to brainstorm, different potential solutions that can lead us to have a better community where everyone feels safe, right? So that's maybe something very important that I was able to get from all this, and for me to be given a space, honestly, has shown me that I'm cared, and that it's the right time for me to use this opportunity and voice out, the concerns of many voiceless people who didn't get the chance to be on those platforms. yeah, that's what I can say on that. I don't know if I was able to answer that very clearly.
Yeah. I love the way you came and said being a refugee is not a disqualification, and that refugees must not be participants but leaders themselves in some of these opportunities that we see here. Your story on this has really reflected that opportunities are there and we just need to apply, and that we can use this refugee status that we have, not for disqualification but as a chance to actually have a unique story, to make sure that we go to these opportunities and have the platform and have the place to brainstorm with other people, because the world cannot be there without refugees. We are here, and of course anyone can be a refugee. Anyone can be a refugee. There's a quote that I had from somewhere, I don't remember, but it was the Global Refugee Forum, and someone was giving a poem, and he mentioned somewhere and said, when you go home, please kiss your children good night, because you have to be glad that this monster never came for you. And what was the monster? The monster was these things that we see that make us become refugees. It can be political instability in our countries, it can be poverty, it can be anything. So that is the monster. So we have to be glad that the monsters never came for them, because anyone can become a refugee. So my probably last question, but before that, I want to ask you a simple question. In actually a very in few words, what advice do you have for students who have just completed high school, or maybe they are remaining with few years to complete high school and they want to be like you? What advice do you give them? Just a few words.
Thank you, Prince. I have a very good quote that I like in French. It says, "Le bonheur ne vient pas à ceux qui l'attendent assis." In English, if I could be able to translate it quite well, it says, opportunities will never find you seated. Right? And it's, if I could maybe give one thing to these young people, is have the hunger for knowledge. You know, and I always remind people that we are the only hope that families have to change the narrative, our poor background. Right? I was sharing this with some of my friends in Mahama Refugee Camp recently. I told them, we are the only hope. Whenever your father or your mother is looking at you, like you could be like, wow, this is my child. I see him turning out to be someone who changed this poor background of our family.
Yeah.
So, if you are the last hope that the family has, so what do you think you can do? You have to sacrifice yourself.
Exactly.
Because even Jesus was the last hope that God has to be able to save his people.
Yeah.
So this is the right time for us to hustle, right? And make ourselves uncomfortable. I would remind them that to learn as many things as they can.
Yeah.
Be it digital literacy, be it the use of AI, be it coding, be it whatever. I'm not good at coding actually, but I wish I can be. But I think since I have your plans, maybe it's the right time for me to have.
Because I've told quite a number of people, and they are actually doing so well in that field.
Yeah, I would say I would tell them to use their time very properly, because time is very short. The academic year is very short, honestly. 9 months is not something that you can be proud of. Please use your days very effectively, your minutes, your hours, because time runs very fast. And we are in centuries that are in a century that is moving very fast. Yeah. Now you see when the year comes in, it ends very quickly. now I'm just finishing my 2 years at Sciences Po. I can't imagine that I'm just finishing.
Yeah.
So let them use their time very effectively and get to expose to as many people and as possible, and be ready to answer critical questions.
Yeah.
Sometimes students do not know how to ask questions and support. Please show that you want to be assisted. But there is a very good quote that people used to say, God helps those who help themselves.
Yeah.
Right? So even we people cannot help you when you are not able to help yourself.
There's actually a very big challenge with because I also had the same challenge when you want these opportunities, but the worst thing you can do is you don't know how to manage your time very well. You think you are very young to go and have fun with the boys out there, and then you because you have a future, and that future will need much of your time and much of your energy. So you need to always go and work on that. And the way you mentioned it very, very practically, where that have hunger for knowledge. You need that hunger to learn as many things as possible. And this is something I always tell almost everyone. They always ask me, but how do you find yourself in coding yet you have been studying petroleum engineering somewhere? And then I tell them, I have hunger for knowledge. Even up to now, I want to learn as many things as I can. And now that there is AI that can actually make it so easy for you, why not? You can go forth and do it. And actually, the way you said, we are the only hope for our families. Of course, we are the only.
Last.
These people have
only and the last hope. The only and the last.
The only hope. And the last hope. These people have too much hope in us. So you have to go and work such that you fulfill the hopes they have in you.
Absolutely.
There's an athlete in Kenya who loves so much, and he's someone who always teaches people about self-discipline. I was a person a few years ago who had, I can say, I didn't have a good behavior, but I came to have a challenge that taught me to have a good behavior. And this athlete, I don't know if I can pronounce his name very well, but he's called Eliud Kipchoge. I don't know, but he's called Eliud. He said, the best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago, and I'm not even 25 yet. The best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago. And the second best time you have is now. And what does it mean? You are supposed to have that tree, you are supposed to plant a tree of self-discipline in yourself 25 years ago. That means when you are a very young baby. Now that you have missed 25 years ago, the only second time you can have to plant this tree of self-discipline in yourself is today. Of course, you are never too late to do something. You can learn now. You can start having that hunger for knowledge right now. You can realize that these families have hopes in us right now, and so you can be able to do to fulfill the hopes they have in us. And the very last question that I have for you, which actually should be very simple. You are a founder of an initiative that is working for refugees, which I can call a refugee-led organization or refugee-led initiative. And of course, organizations will always need stakeholders. We'll always need other people to fund what we do in these communities to make sure that we have the impact we envision to have. And we know what has been happening. Funding has been cut short with many organizations, including the UNHCR which has been mentioning everywhere that the funding has been cut short. Maybe because these people do not trust us. I've been in this field and they always tell us they do not trust us because they give us money and we take this money to do our own, to fulfill our own choices, which is not actually true. Previously, in the previous episode, we had someone who also has been a co-founder of, a founder of a certain initiative, and she said, they always say we eat their money, we use our money for our personal choices, but these are not just refugees. Any person can use your money for their personal choices. So I want to ask you a question. Which advice can you give to these stakeholders that are partnering with the refugee-led organizations, or that are looking forward to partnering with the refugee-led organizations?
Okay, let me start with let me start with a very clear message. My message to stakeholders is very simple. Investing in refugees is not an act of charity, right? But an investment in humanity's future. Refugee youth, to be honest, are not problems to be solved, but they are readers in the making, right? If we give them the tools, opportunities, support they deserve, they continue not only to inspire or to contribute to their community, but to the world. Now, since the world is failing to support, refugees, who else are there to support them? So we have to stand up, right? And I would say there are big lies. Compromises, if I would say it. Like, people are not looking at us as trustworthy people. Right? They rather see us as, I would say, the misusers. Or people who misuse the money or whatever. But those are big lies, honestly. Those are big lies. But rather, if we can go maybe extra mile and check the reality of different reports that are released every year, you'll find big lies in there, right? Maybe of trying to mask, the impact that they never did. So I'm sad that sometimes we say we've impacted a number of people, but when you go down to the community, you find the problem still there. So what did they do? But as since we've experienced, and we've gone through this experience, we are aware of what our people are in need of. Because it's very hard for someone who lives in Kigali to serve people who live in Mahama, right? Yes, you come there sometimes because you have an office in Kigali. Maybe you come there, let's say one in a month or twice in a month. And how will you be able to know the challenge that people on the ground are facing? That's actually let them decentralize, decentralize the service that they offer. We can be, we can do great, and we have that potential to do so. And I would say one of the leaders in Mahama Refugee Camp recently told us one thing that is very critical to reflect on. I want to share it with you, but I don't want to mention his name here for security purposes. He told us that, I wrote it somewhere. He told us that who is weak cannot help another person. You must assure that you are capable of supporting your people, right? And I'm turning this back to refugee-led organization leaders, right? Not everybody is happy with what we are doing. That's it. But rather, we have to show up every single day, every single time, every chance we get, and show that we are capable of supporting our people, because we are the ones who are mostly touched, by the challenges that our people are facing. Some other people are there to serve and get money, their monthly salary. They don't care sometimes, right? But because we know what our people are going through, we are the ones to know how to solve them, right? And serve our people fully, equally, and in a very effective manner. I would say, please, stakeholders, trust in what you are doing and be with us as we build the future for our community. Thank you very much.
That's exactly what our previous guest said. She said, we are the best people to solve our own problems, and
of course.
do it ourselves, it even becomes profitable. That was so strong, and actually that's what almost everyone has said in this episode. So you don't, dear stakeholders, you don't have to put this trust anywhere. We are the best people to solve our own challenges because we live there, we live by the challenges, and we understand the best ways to find remedies for these challenges. So one last question that I want to ask you, and you should answer this question in one sentence, just one sentence. Elvis, how do you want to be remembered?
So I want to be remembered. That's a very hard question. I want to be remembered as a person who have positively touched the lives of others.
Exactly.
I don't want to be remembered as Elvis, but I want to be remembered as a person who has been a bridge, for others to be their best versions of themselves.
And you've already started doing that journey?
No, I haven't, but I'm starting out.
Okay, thank you so much, Elvis, for sharing your story and your vision with us today. Your journey from the refugee camp to becoming a student at African Leadership University to now as a student in Paris at Sciences Po, and a leader, an advocate that reminds us the power of education to transform the lives and communities that we live in. And of course, to our listeners, I hope this conversation has inspired you as much as it has inspired me. Education is not just the survival that we see, but it's about the dignity, it's about the hope, the chance that we have to create that lasting impact in our lives. If you enjoyed this episode of the Resilient Voices of Refugees, please share it with your friends and subscribe to the podcast. And you can continue to follow most of these stories that we have on our catalog, on our website, on the podcast page. And you can be able to see much of those stories from people like Elvis. And I was also hosted there myself, and you can go there to check some of these stories that we have. Until next time, thank you for listening, and let's keep amplifying these resilient voices. Thank you so much, Elvis, once again.
Thank you very much, Prince, for inviting me, and to Refugee Youth Changemakers Leadership for thinking about me. It's been really a pleasure, and I'll always be there for you, as you are there for me as well. Let's keep holding each other's hands as we do great work to impact our community. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and we cannot wait to come back to you in the near future when you have evolved to become that very, very important person.
That's a journey, right? And I have to challenge myself to get better every single day.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.